don't listen to the People Eat People podcast. I've always done my best to support my husband's dreams. So when he came home one day and announced that he was quitting his job to pursue his career in writing, I smiled and told him I would help him by transforming his office into a little nook for creative writing ideas to flow more freely. Inside, I might have been dreaming out a little bit, but he reassured me that this wasn't just some midlife crisis, it was the real deal. I got a contract right away with a new podcast that pays top dollar for thrilling tales, he told me and showed me their info at the same night. People Eat People. That name immediately caught my attention, and so did their slogan. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, so why would you think that the world of podcasting is any different? At People Eat People, we encourage competition through rewards. Make your story shine and cut the middleman. I have to admit, though despite my misgivings, everything on the website seemed legit. There were reviews by aspiring authors who had received contracts claiming that the podcast changed their lives. I didn't see any issue with the arrangement, so I told them to go for it. Maybe it would even mean I could reduce my own work hours. A few weeks passed, and more bills came in, the kind that can be ignored. Kevin told me that I need to be patient. The story he was concocting for the podcast would change everything, and I love my husband, but my patience was wearing thin. So that night I decided to wait until he went to sleep and check his email to see if maybe I could help him out by finishing the submission. It was really harmless. I wasn't trying to butt into his work or anything. But what I found in a series of conversations immediately raised red flags. Have you finished it yet? No, not yet. Are you sure there isn't another way? Our company likes to have authentic stories, and the best way for that to happen is by living them. She's my wife. I don't know if I can do it. It was like they were talking in code. I closed the laptop. Too worried to keep reading. Then I saw Kevin standing in the hallway with a knife. I really wish you hadn't read that, sweetie, he said, moving toward me. I panicked. I pushed down the nightstand and hit him against the wall. Running out the door in a flash, I tried to grab my nightgown. I couldn't think of anywhere to go except the neighbor's house. I probably banged on their door for 20 seconds or so before they finally came and let me in. I asked to phone the police as I heard Kevin go on a rampage to find me. About half an hour later, he was arrested for attempted murder. I turned in his laptop for evidence to show his connection to the podcast as the driving force behind the attempt. They told me that technically nothing in the emails was prosecutable, and I thanked them for their time before returning to my home, confused and alone. That night, I thought about Kevin and the stories he wrote, and decided to give the podcast a listen. People Eat People was indeed full of dark shit. No different than the one he was preparing to write about me and act out. There was a story about chopping off fingers to avoid fingerprints. A story about drowning a baby. As I listened, I did a Google search, my heart sinking each time I found a match in the local news. Local adoption shelter experienced first case of parvo in years. Dozens die. Body found in river with feet and hands removed. Hospital on high alert after a child suffered drowning during observation. I don't know how long I cried, but it wasn't even the worst of all of it. I opened up a separate file to see works in progress and literally found at least a dozen more addresses. My husband was hoarding victims for stories. Our storage lockers were being used as a prison. I want to share this story with local news to convince them to shut down the podcast and to spread the word of their evil deeds. But by the time I got the reports to the police, the station was already pulled. Somehow the records were removed from the laptop too, like it was never there to begin with.